They said I was wrong. They said I was crazy. They said I didn't understand the system. Funny thing is, they were right, but not in the way they thought. I did misunderstand the system, because I understood it better than they did. My name is Michael Burry, and this is the story of how I saw the 2008 financial crash coming when absolutely no one else did. You see, I wasn't your typical Wall Street guru. I wasn't even a trader by profession. I was a doctor. I'd spent years in residency, learning about the human body, diagnosing illnesses, and trying to make sense of complex biological systems. But late at night, when the hospital halls grew quiet, my true passion would take over. It wasn't medicine. It was numbers, patterns, ratios. The beautiful, cold, hard logic that hides in the middle of chaos. I'd started a blog, a small corner of the internet where I'd share my investment thoughts. I wasn't trying to be a star. I was just putting my ideas out there, testing my theories against the world. And to my surprise, people started listening. Big names in finance, legends I'd only read about, they started noticing a weirdo doctor who was talking about value investing. That's how my hedge fund, Sign Capital, was born. It wasn't built on connections or Ivy League credentials. It was built on pure, obsessive analysis. The early 2000s were a wild time. The dot-com bubble had just burst, and everyone was looking for the next big thing. That thing, it turned out, was housing. Real estate was booming. It was the American dream, packaged and sold as the safest investment you could possibly make. They're not making any more land. The old saying goes, house prices only go up. That was the gospel on Wall Street, and anyone who questioned it was treated like a heretic. While everyone else was chasing that hype, celebrating the endless climb, I was doing something different, something incredibly boring. I was reading. I wasn't reading headlines or market reports from slick analysts. I was reading the fine print, the source material. I requested the prospectuses for hundreds, then thousands of mortgage-backed securities. These were colossal documents, hundreds of pages thick, filled with legal jargon and endless tables of data. They were designed to be unreadable, to put you to sleep. No one on Wall Street was actually reading them. They trusted the ratings agencies Moody's, Standard & Poor's, who stamped these things with AAA ratings, the highest mark of safety. But I read them. Every single page. I stayed up for days, fueled by coffee and an unsettling feeling in my gut. And what I saw in those pages, buried deep within the numbers, absolutely terrified me. The foundation of this booming housing market, the engine of the global economy, wasn't solid rock. It was quicksand. These securities were bundles of thousands of individual home loans. And as I dug deeper into the underlying mortgages, I realized they were filled with junk. Adjustable rate mortgages given to people with no income, no job, and no assets. Ninja loans, they called them. People were getting mortgages with introductory teaser rates that were set to explode in just a few years, specifically in 2007. The entire system was built on the assumption that house prices would keep rising forever, allowing people to simply refinance before their payments ballooned. It was a ticking time bomb. America wasn't built on a rock. It was built on a house of cards. A strong gust of wind would bring the whole thing down. So, I decided to do something insane. I decided to bet against it. I walked into the biggest banks on Wall Street, Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank, Bank of America, and I proposed an idea they'd never heard of. I wanted to buy a new kind of insurance, something called a credit default swap. Essentially, I wanted to pay them a regular premium, and in exchange, if these supposedly safe mortgage bonds failed, they would have to pay me a lot. They laughed at me. At first, they didn't even know how to price it because the very idea that these bonds could fail was ludicrous to them. They saw me as a fool, an amateur doctor playing with fire. They thought I was handing them free money. So they took the bet. I was betting against the American housing market. I was betting against Wall Street. In a way, I was betting against the American dream itself. I put more than $1 billion of my investors' money on the line. And then, we waited and waited. The first year, nothing happened. House prices kept going up. The market seemed stronger than ever. The premiums I had to pay on these swaps were bleeding my fund dry. My investors started to panic. They called me. They sent angry emails. They accused me of being reckless, of losing their money on a crazy, paranoid theory. They started pulling their money out. The pressure was immense. Every day, I had to look at our balance sheet and see millions of dollars disappearing. My own partners questioned me. People mocked me openly. They called me bubble boy. I was being squeezed from all sides. I started having to lock withdrawals, essentially holding my investors' money hostage to keep the fund alive long enough for my thesis to play out. It was the most stressful period of my life. I was fighting against the entire world, and the world seemed to be winning. But I held on. I had to. Because this wasn't about a gut feeling or a lucky guess. It was about the math. And the math was undeniable. The numbers don't lie. People do. Systems do. But pure, cold arithmetic tells the truth. I had done the work. I had read the pages no one else would read. I knew the bomb was ticking. My only fear was that I would run out of money before it went off. Truth doesn't care about your timing, it only cares about being right. I just had to stay patient and trust the data. And then, it happened. In 2007, just as the data predicted, the teaser rates on those subprime mortgages began to reset. Suddenly, millions of homeowners saw their monthly payments double or triple. Defaults started to trickle in. Then it became a stream, then a flood. The house of cards began to sway. One by one, the mortgage lenders that had handed out these toxic loans started to go bankrupt. Bear Stearns collapsed. Lehman Brothers followed. The stock market went into a freefall. The entire global financial system froze. Panic swept the globe. It was a catastrophe. And in my small office in Cupertino, California, the phone started ringing. It was the banks. The same banks that had laughed at me were now on the other end of the line, their voices trembling, ready to pay up. My bet, the crazy, foolish bet against America, had paid off. We made a profit of nearly $3 billion. My investors, the ones who had stuck with me, saw returns of almost 500%. But I didn't feel like celebrating. I didn't feel rich. I just felt right. Seeing the devastation on the news, the millions of people who lost their homes, their jobs, their life savings, it was heartbreaking. I had seen the train coming. I had screamed at the top of my lungs, and no one had listened until it was too late. I took no joy in their pain. My goal was never to profit from disaster, but to expose a fatal flaw in a system that was destined to create one. Today, I still live a quiet life. I closed my fund not long after, wanting to get away from the pressures of managing other people's money. I'm still that same person, spending my days sifting through data, looking for signals in the noise, still searching for the next pattern, the next discrepancy between perception and reality. And I'm still warning about what's next, because the cycle never really ends. Greed, short-sightedness, and the tendency to ignore inconvenient facts are part of human nature. The next bubble is always building somewhere. It might be in tech, it might be in government debt, it might be something we can't even see yet. My story isn't just about making money. It's a warning. It's a lesson that you should never outsource your thinking. You need to question everything, especially when everyone agrees. Do your own research. Read the fine print. Trust the numbers, not the narrative. Because in the world of finance, and in life, faith without facts is just a fantasy. And fantasies have a nasty habit of ending badly. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into the minds that shape our world. We appreciate your support more than you know. Stay curious and stay skeptical.